Mhm.
Okay, good. So, Jasmine Sanders, thank you so much for doing this interview with I Hear That Girl. Again, I'm Jasmine Flowers. And so, what I want to tell everybody is Jasmine Sanders is ranked in the top 3 of nationally syndicated Black female personalities, co host of the DL Hughley Show and DL Hughley Uncut, and also a podcaster of Brunch Therapy with Jasmine Sanders and the upcoming one, Don't Tell Me to Shut Up. Jasmine Sanders is also a TV host, formerly hosting Centric TV's Culture List, also a journalist, also a motivational speaker, and many, many more things. And also, you started the hashtag adopted and winning. Thank you so much for
Sorry.
coming on here and talking to us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
you have so many commas behind your name. You're doing so many things. The first thing I want to start out with is I want you to kind of tell us about your journey. What made you even want to go into the entertainment industry?
Oh, wow. Since I was a little girl, I was always enamored by the fact that people with their bodies could somehow entertain people and take them to a different place if they are sad or lonely or angry. There's something
Mhm.
about someone's ability, their natural ability, that could always kind of uplift them from that place. And so I couldn't sing. I thought I could for a little while, so that wasn't gonna do it.
Who told you you
um
couldn't?
well, everybody around me within earshot of me singing. But what I learned later was that I had the ability to use my voice. So although
Okay.
I couldn't sing, I could talk. And so I learned by listening to the local radio station. I had my favorite personalities. I would try to follow them everywhere I could. I would listen to TV commercials. And so I learned the rhythm and the power of voice, and that your voice, although not harmonic in some ways, you could still move people. And so I knew I wanted to talk for a living. I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Initially, I thought I wanted to go into TV and become the next Barbara Walters, who was the dawn of my time. Um, but then when I interned at a local TV station, I realized this ain't for me.
Oh, okay.
And I had a meeting with my academic advisor, and he was like, "You should just talk for a living. You should do radio." And I was like,
Wow.
"You get paid to do that?" Because I thought, when I was growing up, they did it because they just liked it. I didn't know they got a check. So
Right.
here I
So,
am.
so what made you, or what was the first step where you first got your foot in the door into radio? What was that?
Well, first of all, I had to kick my foot into the door. It
Speak
was
on
not
it.
welcome to me. And I did what you can't do now, but I think there is some version of it that you can do. As soon as I graduated, everybody was talking about how, oh, you'll never get a job in your field. It's so
Mhm.
competitive and everybody's, going out for your job. And I just refused to believe that. So I chose the number one station in the market after graduation. Uh, uh, Cap and gown, still hot from my walking. I drove straight to the station. I didn't know anybody
Wow.
there. I sat in the lobby. I made friends with the receptionist. I knew the power of persuasion. Right. So I would bring her breakfast. I would bring her coffee, anything to prevent her from sounding the alarm that there is a stranger that has taken up residence in the lobby. And I'm
Right.
nervous. So I became good friends with her. She let me sit. And even though people were saying, why are you here? Like, what are you doing? Did you win a prize? Or I was like, nope, just here because I need a job. And after about almost 2 weeks, one of the local personalities came out and they were like, "What's your story? Like, what is it that you want?" And I was like, "I want a job." He took me under his wing, and within a week and a half, I was on the air.
So that's
Perseverance,
awesome. But
girl.
I was just about to say that's awesome. Where does that like that self start or self determination come from? Where does because some people just don't have it. They don't believe in themselves. What was it about? Who you was like, I know I can do this.
I think for me personally, I think it was just a series of unfortunate events,
Okay.
because there was really not anyone pouring into me that way. But I think what they were doing with their examples in their lives, they were using that, and without knowing, they were pouring it into me. I mean, I believe that the universe designates people for certain gifts and certain things. And I think once you realize what that is, as long as you continue to believe that when you
Mhm.
speak it, as they say, whether you are religious or not, we all know the power of attraction. We all understand that whatever you put out, you're going to get it back tenfold. So, for me, just feeling like I was such the underdog in every other aspect of my life, I figured if no one was going to cheer for me, I would cheer for me. And I know that sounds so corny, but I swear on everything holy, that's what I did. And
Yeah.
I was blessed enough to be surrounded by people who didn't realize that they were pouring into me and supporting and encouraging me, even though it was in a very non-traditional way.
Hmm.
People telling me what I could not do. That was a lesson for me. That was pouring into me, and it wasn't coming from a place of mean spiritedness or any of that. It's just all they knew, and so I looked at it as the one of their love languages. That's how they love me, and it worked for me. And so I just became my cheerleader. Whenever things got really bad, I would talk to myself, not in a crazy way, but
Yeah.
in that,
Yeah.
let me speak some life into me and into my
Motivation.
situation. And it
Absolutely.
worked. And I'm just so grateful that rather than question if it was crazy, I just went with it. I just went with it, and it has always served me even until this day.
That's really amazing. So like being a woman and having that determination about yourself, and not just being a woman, being a Black woman. Well, I know that you're biracial too, right?
Girl, I'm black.
Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you said
Girl,
it.
I'm black. Let me tell you something. I mean,
Right.
I am native. I don't mean to be
Yeah.
disrespectful to that. But, listen, I am like the world sees me. When they see me, whether it's the
Hmm.
police or the next job person who's about to hire me, they see a black girl. And that's what I,
Exactly.
well, a
Exactly.
woman, really.
Exactly. Well, so being a Black woman in this industry, we've heard it all. A lot of women have had a very difficult time navigating the media space in this male dominated industry. How
Yeah.
have you been able to make it work for you?
One, I don't try to change people. I just
Mhm.
change myself.
Okay.
In other words, in probably my first 5 years in the business, I realized that no matter how much I was telling the men in the industry who were being disrespectful to me and my process, rather than try to convince them that what they were doing was wrong and, hey, turn over a new leaf and be this and be that, I
Hmm.
realized they weren't listening. They just weren't. They were still going to be who they were, whether it was to me or to someone else. So I figured out, okay, so what I can control is how I respond. So let me become clever with it. Let me
Okay.
be able to speak my mind, get my point across without you now claiming that I'm a bitch and I'm hard to get along with. And so I learned how to, I don't know, play the game, but by my own rules, if that
Hmm.
makes any sense.
It does. Yeah. It does.
And it, I know I've heard it and you've heard it. Men will be men, but women will be women. Women.
Yes.
I just decided I don't have the time or the energy to try to I don't know, compete with you. I can just be the best version of myself. And when I feel like you are being disrespectful to me, I will say so. And I will do it in a way that does not somehow make it impossible for us to work together, but you're going to respect me. That part.
Absolutely.
Um, and I think once you stop trying to figure out how to, I don't know, fit into their world, but realize it's your world,
Hmm.
because most entertainment anyway, at least the arena that I'm in, caters to women because women tend to rule the purse. So who knows a woman better than me?
Exactly. Exactly.
So, I just looked at it that way and I was like, no matter what, I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to put everything I got into what I'm doing and they will recognize it eventually. You won't have a choice. You can walk outside and say that the sun is not shining, but if it is clearly in your face and you stay out there long enough, you will get burned.
Absolutely.
Can't
And
fight
I
the
think,
truth.
yeah, and clearly, like everything that you're doing is working. I mean, you don't get ranked top three of syndicated
Well, girl,
Black female
listen.
personalities without doing something
But you
right.
know what? Even that, I feel like you can't chase the accolades and the
Hmm.
titles because Listen, I've been doing this for a long time, and there are a ton of people who still don't know who I am, who've never even heard of me. And I'm all right with that
Mhm.
because my thing is, I, I remember years ago when India Ari first came on the scene.
Yeah.
And, she was hailed as the next big thing. And, everyone was anticipating all of these awards that she was going to get. And her music was freaking incredible. You
Yeah.
could
It was.
not
Yeah.
deny that. But yet and still, she walked away with no Grammy. She walked
Yeah.
away with no award. And I
Not
remember
one.
her speaking about how broken she was initially about it until she really began to think, what does it really mean?
Hmm.
And so I thought that too. I was like, for so long, initially, I wanted to be, when people talk about women in media or, radio or TV, I want them to say my name. Well, for what? Because then what?
Hmm.
Like, what does that do after they say your name? Now what?
Exactly.
So rather than chase the titles and the accolades that sometimes come my way and sometimes they don't, I just decided I'm going to do the best that I can do. And if there is room for improvement, which there always is, I will figure out a way to get better. And that's really all I can do. And either people will recognize it,
Hmm.
and I hope that they do, or they won't. And if they don't, I'm good with that. I know as long as know that I'm up every morning, I'm doing what I have to do to continue to be where I am, to make a good name for not only myself, but for my family. What more can you ask for, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's the best way to handle that. So working with DL Hughley, being the co-host and having the Jazzy report, how did that whole thing get started? And I've watched your videos with the Jazzy report and how you give these, you're telling everybody the stories, like what's happening. I love it. I've been over here like laughing and listening to everything that y'all have been saying. It's awesome. It's brilliant. So how did that whole process get started with you working with DL
So
Hughley?
we knew when we started the show that, DL was going to be bringing all the funny because that's what he is. Not
Mm-hmm.
just funny, but he was also going to be bringing some very informative and sometimes painful things that we have to really look at. And I thought that is true, but I also think outside of the social injustices and, the fight for equal things in terms of education and economics and all of those things that we know
Mm-hmm.
exist. I just felt like there are also a plethora of other things that we need to be informed on, whether it is something regarding women's health, whether it is some amazing fact, or if it's something as silly as, I don't know, somebody went to the gym and put their penis in a weight, which is so stupid, but it
Right.
happens. And I'm like, we should talk about these things. Like there has
Yeah.
to be some levity to some of the things that we're talking about. And I thought, let me be in charge of that. I mean, that's what I went to school for, journalism. I can read and put a story together, hopefully in a funny but informative way.
Yes.
I thought,
Very.
I think that's kind of what I bring to the table. I don't tell jokes, thank God. But I try to bring the journalistic approach to it. And so, the stories come from that.
Absolutely. So not only do you like dominate the journalism and radio space and everything, but you're also an advocate for adoption as you were adopted. And
Yes.
like I just said earlier, adopted and winning is your hashtag. And again, I was looking at some videos about you talking about your adoption story, your journey, how you were in foster care for a little bit of time and then were adopted at 3. Speak about that to us and why you are such an advocate for adoptions.
It took me a long time to even speak about it because
Okay.
growing up, I came in the age of you don't talk about that. Like, yeah, you were adopted. We don't say it. You're now just family. Don't talk about it. Don't speak about it. And that's it. And so for the longest, I would just never talk about it. I never even thought anything about it. And this is even after I had gone on to find my biological family. I didn't talk about it. I didn't tell people what I was doing. I didn't tell them about the journey. And then I
Oh.
remember going to speak to a group of young women, not even about adoption and foster care, just, giving back, right? To give words of encouragement. And I remember one of them saying that they didn't think I understood what they may be going through because, things had probably always been easy for me. And
Mm.
in that moment, I thought, It actually hasn't. And now that I think about it, let me share this with you. And even as I was telling my own story, it was as if I was listening to someone else because I had never said it out loud. And so, in doing that, it made me really understand the gravity of not only being grateful, but not grateful in silence. Like
Mm,
I had always been so happy that my parents, my forever family adopted me and that I made it out of the system, but I never said it out loud. I never let people know um from whence I came. And not only that, to that end, I'd never really thanked or showed gratitude in an outward fashion to the family that took me in. And so from that point on, I figured I need to learn more about this, not just how I feel, but the
mhm,
facts and the numbers. And once I saw the numbers, and as I began to really read through and study the facts, I thought, oh my God, there are so many people of color, young kids
mm,
and teens who are stuck in a system that they may not ever get out. And then it began to really settle into my system of that could have been me. You
yeah,
know, always lived by, the creed of too much given, much required. And I thought, wow, look at all that I've been given. I'd gone
absolutely.
through 3 foster families, and I finally got to a point where for whatever reason, I mean, first of all, the fact that I went through 3, I was going through them, but
Yeah.
that's not what we're talking about. I thought, how blessed am I
Hmm.
that when I was 4 that I finally got a family, and I thought, wow, when I look at the facts of kids who beyond 5, 6, and 7 are least likely to get adopted because people want babies.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
they don't want toddlers, they want babies, and they want white babies. I mean, now
Yeah.
it's, of course, all, vogue to get a black baby or a baby of color.
Right. Get your little black baby.
But,
You'll do
and
well.
I thought I have to speak about that. I have
Right.
to try to get rid of the stigma of, "Shh, don't say that. It's a secret." And I thought that's part of the problem. And
Yeah.
if I don't say it, who else will? And
Do you
so there
do
you
you
go.
think maybe you didn't say anything because you didn't want to maybe like upset your the family that adopted you and took you in, and that you didn't want to be like maybe like feeling like disrespectful towards them or anything like that?
I think so, but that didn't come until later. I
Okay.
think initially I was embarrassed and I was ashamed
To be
because
adopted?
yeah,
Okay.
because in order to be adopted, it means someone had to leave you. And when you're so
Mm,
young, you don't know the struggles that life can send your way, right? So the only thing that you know and that a young mind can understand is that your mother had you and she left.
mm,
So
mm,
what does that say about you as a person, that the person who's supposed to take care of you and make sure that you're safe left you? And so that causes all of these other emotional and mental questions of your worth. And so really I was ashamed because I was the only one outside of my brother who was also adopted. He was adopted before me. He's not my biological brother, but he certainly is my brother in love and
right.
spirit. And as far as I'm concerned, he is my brother. But they adopted him first and then they adopted me. And so we were the only ones. And so the only thing I could think was, wow, their mothers and fathers loved them and kept them, but mine didn't love and keep me. So
Mm,
it's really
okay.
shame. And then once I started looking for my biological mother and my adopted mother found out, she was hurt. And at that point, I knew
Okay.
I shouldn't speak about that because it hurts her. Because up until that point, hell, as far as I knew, she stole me. I didn't know, because I didn't know my story. I'm like, I
Not
gotta call the
stole.
cops. I don't know this woman. That's terrible. That's
Oh my
terrible.
God, not stole.
It's how you think you're a kid. So I thought,
Yeah.
I was a member of Sister Sledge. I was like, look at his nose. They got his sisters. I thought, what's her name? Oh, I can't think of her name. Minnie Ripperton. I thought she was my mother. That's why I thought I could sing. I was like, I have got to be able to sing. Have you heard my mama sing Loving You? It is the best ever. She was not my mama. I mean,
So were
but
you adopted by white people or black people?
no, by black people.
By black people. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. So you think I'm trying to make I guess I'm kind of making the connection when you spoke a little bit about having issues in your earlier well we spoke about that earlier. Do you think that that determination of not having certain things or kind of feeling like maybe even though you know that now you weren't thrown away or anything like that, do you think that kind of led you to being so much of a self-starter later on and being like, oh, I know I can do this? Because like nobody needs to tell me that I can do it. I'm gonna be my own champion. I'm gonna be the one to push myself out there.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
more so than that, it was really, at least for me, it was I need to make sure that um, they know they chose a good egg.
Yeah.
I didn't wanna let them down. I wanted them to, because uh, think about it, like, you go to, and I'm not making light of it, but, when you go buy something, you want it to be what you want it to be and all that you hope for. When you buy that shade of lipstick, you hope when you get home, it makes you look beautiful. When you buy a pair of shoes, as gorgeous
Yeah.
as they are, you hope they don't hurt your feet. And so my thing was, although not necessarily in the bartering way, I felt like she could have chosen any little girl and she chose me. And for that reason, I knew I was a headache as a little kid. So I was like, I can't let them down. I want them
Mhm.
to see they chose good. They
Absolutely.
chose good. And even as I was, post college and just getting into working and all of the research that I was doing, and I saw all of these sad stories about how, kids in foster care, it was always the same painted picture, bad kids, troubled kids, they're foster kids,
Mhm.
they're all clumped together, they got issues. And I just didn't want them to feel that way about me. I wanted my family to be, I wanted to be the one that they were the most proud of. And so that
Absolutely.
pushed me. Whenever I got tired, I was like, well, I can't, because, I have to prove to them that they chose well. And so for me, it was always about, how can I be better? What can I do to make myself better? And, I just never stopped thinking like that.
Yeah. And I think representation matters. Seeing someone that looks like you, who came from the same background as you or similar background as you, is important. And this is why I am loving the fact that you speak and you're an advocate for adoption and talking about children in the foster care
Yeah.
system, particularly with Black and Brown children, how you said before, aren't initially the ones that get placed, or
Yeah.
people even want to take them home because they, I mean, of course, all of these racism and everything else that,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
true.
just
It's
gonna
true.
call it out for what it is. It's racism that leads to Black children staying in the system forever. So how do you how do you get through to children right now who are like, there is no hope for me? Like I am, because I know you're a motivational speaker too. So when you go and talk to these kids, how do you get through to them when they feel unwanted or just nobody's paying attention to them? What do you say?
Well, the first thing I say is never lose hope, because at the end of the day, that's really all you got. And even though you can't see it, you have to believe that it exists, right?
Mhm.
And it's the one thing that doesn't cost you anything. Everything else costs something, but maintaining hope does not. And again, my biggest thing was, at the end of the day, even when you don't think you have anyone, you do have someone, and that
Okay.
someone is always you. Even if it sounds so silly and cliche, but at the end of the day, we as individuals are our best advocates and best friends, right? Because you don't spend more time with any other person than yourself, in your
True.
thoughts, and obviously physically. You get up with you go to bed with you eat with you do all of these things. So if, if there's anybody who's going to cheer you on, it has to be you. But I also believe that you have to be very honest, brutally honest sometimes, about who you really are and exactly what your position is. You can't
Mhm.
think that you're the best if you haven't put the work in. How can you be the best if you haven't put the work in? And if you are innately the best, you can always be better,
Right.
right? Like, so you have to be honest about where you are. And I've had those conversations with some of those kids who are like, well, I had it bad. Okay, yeah, a lot of people did. What's next?
Hmm.
Well, this and that has happened. Okay, so what are you doing to try to get over it? Because if you just
Exactly.
sit in it, you're never going to get over it. So,
Right.
we all have battle stories. We all have wars that we fought in. And you have to understand it's okay to lose the battle, but never win the war, never lose the war, because that's the most important part. And so when I have honest conversations with them, I have found that serves me best.
Hmm.
I can sit and talk about how easy it's going to be, and all you have to do is just believe. No, that ain't it. It
Yeah.
takes so much more than that.
Yeah.
There is no magic pill, there's no magic wand. And let me tell you something, there is no person on a white horse, black horse, brown horse that is going to come and save you. You got to save you.
Absolutely. Exactly. You gotta have to save yourself. That's
And
it.
so that's what I do. I just keep it as real with them and sometimes as brutally honest as I can. And that seems to work.
Mhm. I think that's what everybody needs. People just need honesty, period. Like,
Period.
tell people the truth. Yeah,
I
it's the
like it.
best. Yeah, it's the best way to help somebody. So let's move into talking about your podcast, Brunch Therapy with
Yes.
Jasmine Sanders. So,
Uh-huh.
what is your podcast all about? Like, what are you doing on Brunch Therapy?
So brunch therapy is exactly what it sounds like. It is, in my head, girls who are having brunch and therapy. And for me, therapy is not, I don't know, pining over your problems, but it is doing what Black women across this country and really around the world never really get the opportunity to do. And that is lay in laziness and laughter. We never get
Mhm.
the opportunity to do that. If we're laughing, we laugh, but so long because we're thinking about the problems we have to go home to, whether it's your financial situation, your professional situation, your personal situation with relationships. And I just think with the amount and stress that we have, I can't speak about Black men because I'm not a Black man. What I know is as a Black woman, everything is always against you. You are expected to hold up the bloodstained banner at all costs. We're expected to
Yes.
hold the families together. We're expected to, save this country from itself when it comes to voting. And I remember in Charleston, it was a Black woman who climbed that pole to bring that flag down. It's like, okay, it's
Yes.
great. We are the break in case of emergency fire extinguisher.
Right.
So my thing is rather than sit in a glass box waiting to be broken out, why can't we have fun now? We want our fun right now. Everything doesn't have to be serious. I know little Johnny needs to eat. I'm going to make his food in just a minute, but right now I'm going to languish and enjoy with my friends. And I don't think we get the
Absolutely.
opportunity to do that. So brunch therapy is really all about fun. If you're looking for the Jazzy Report, I don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't have it at brunch therapy. What I have is champagne, French toast, and lots of mimosas, if you'd like, some
Yes.
jokes, stories about where we've been that we probably don't want to say out loud that are funny. It's a place where tears check themselves at the door. That's what brunch therapy is. And I think as Black women, we never get the opportunity to recharge. We have to be
Yes.
convinced to take a break. We have to be convinced to go on vacation. We have to be convinced that it makes sense to spend money trying to look cute. Why can't I
Absolutely.
do that? Like, why is that an issue? That's not a bad thing. And so, brunch therapy is the opportunity for us to let our hair down and be exactly who we want to be.
Exactly. I love that because I feel so much like the strong Black woman tropes are like, of course, we want to be known as being strong. We are strong. We come from
We are.
strong women. We know that. But at the same time, I don't get to be multidimensional. Like, I don't get to just have a day where I'm like, I didn't feel like putting on a wig today. Like,
Right. I don't
I
want to
washed
put
my
on
eyebrows
makeup.
down the sink. Right. Like, I just want to link with my girls. I think this is so needed, and Black women need
Absolutely.
a safe space, like you said, to recharge, have conversations with other women, and see where our similarities are, and share advice. But sometimes just sit
Exactly.
around, laugh, and eat.
Welcome to brunch therapy, girl.
So what's the other one? Don't tell me to shut up. What is that all about?
So don't tell me to shut up came from something that I feel like I've said or heard my entire life. I
Mm.
don't know a woman, especially a Black woman, who has not uttered that phrase. Don't tell me to shut up. Like
Yeah.
all the time, whether it is to, your family, whether it's to your friends, whether it's to whoever you're in a relationship with, whether it's somebody on your job, you say it all the time. And what you could be talking about might not be anything that's going to cause I don't know, problems or a riff. It might not be anything serious. Maybe I want to talk about sex. Don't tell me to shut up. I think society tries to, put boundaries and shackles on us. If we talk about sex, now you a hoe. Well, no, I just want to
Oh
talk
my
about sex.
God.
What's wrong with that? I'm a human being. If I want to talk about how I feel about relationships or issues. Why is everyone trying to tell me to shut up and tell me what I think, what I feel? And, women are always, how do you know if you're not a woman? And so I
Exactly.
feel like all of this mansplaining that constantly goes on, like to me, don't tell me to shut up is a platform, not just for me. I mean, obviously it's for me because it's me speaking my
Right.
mind finally, but also hopefully to give people the courage and the incentive to finally say whatever it is they want to say whether it's tastefully or not. I think there's a time for both of those. They don't have
Agreed.
to be
Right.
mutually exclusive. It depends on what the subject is and who said it.
Exactly. I'm glad that you spoke on, like, if women are sexual or are having full autonomy over their bodies, agency over their bodies, then it's an issue. But it wasn't a problem when Nelly was sliding the car. We're just gonna leave that there. But
Well, since we leaving things there, how about leave this? I was just reading a story where I guess Lil Boosie was talking about I
Lori
guess
Harvey.
Lori Harvey and had the nerve to say, I guess all the men who've been through her. What? Like I don't understand.
Yeah,
And something that sets me off faster than anything is when men or women speak about women in a way as if we are just garages that you pull in and out of, and
absolutely.
that's it. Like, I'm like, okay, well, why is it always from the woman's perspective that now she has somehow sullied herself because
Hmm.
I guess as he said, he would sleep with her, but he'd never marry her because he wants a good girl. Well, here's the thing: if you're out slaying every girl, turning her into a bad girl, where the hell are you gonna get this good girl from? And
Exactly.
because a girl decides, because first of all, you didn't slay her; she decided to be slayed.
She
Listen,
decided to.
okay.
Yes.
So my thing is, why do you get to decide what that means and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing? That irritates me to no end.
Yeah, it irritates my soul as well. And I was gonna ask you about Lori Harvey in particular because I heard the Boosie thing too. But Boosie, a few months or a few years ago, was the same man who said that he would let his son have sex with a prostitute
Yes,
for, like, taking control of his son's sexuality, which is weird in the
very
first place.
weird.
But yeah, like, I
Yeah,
think women's sexuality is always under criticism from
always.
men who always want to, they don't want to have these puritanical values, but they want women to,
Yeah.
you know?
And they say all the time, it's not our fault, we this is how it is. We didn't make the rules. I'm like, what? Yeah. And then I heard somebody else when I say something to the effect of, you guys are supposed to be better than us.
Right.
You're supposed to make, okay, first of all, who came up with suppose? And
Who
who
said,
told you
right.
that? Did
Who
you
told
read
y'all that?
did you read it
Right.
in Leviticus? Is it in the Bible? Where did you see
Right.
it? Just give me some kind of reference as to where you got this information. But that's one of the reasons why I love, Megan the Stallion. I
Mm-hmm.
love Cardi B, not so much for um I don't want to say what they stand for, but really what they represent, at least to me, in terms of finally women being unapologetic about, whether they choose to be highly sexual. That's your
Right.
preference. This right here from head to toe belongs to me. And all of the decisions that have anything to do with this body are mine. And it doesn't
Exactly.
now define me as somehow being a bad person or the lady with the scarlet letter. Doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that I am
Absolutely.
in control of my being.
Yeah, and that's it. I like them too. They're disrupting the system that tells women that you cannot do whatever you want to with your body and be respected. And they are saying, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And you
A
will
thousand
respect
times over.
me. Right. And you absolutely will respect me. So I love that. I really want to get your opinion on that one. I
There
love,
you have it.
yeah, I love that. Don't Tell Me to Shut Up is a platform for women to be able to, like, say whatever they want to say. I think that is so awesome. I want to pivot to other Black women trying to get into the entertainment space. Like, what kind of advice would you give women who are trying to navigate this, or even just thinking about a career in radio or TV or whatever other medium there is?
Well, first I would say it's gonna be hard as hell, but that doesn't mean you should stop. It's all the more reason to do it, but it will not be easy. I think um the thing about a camera and a microphone, I think it gives the illusion of I don't know, pristine, everything is easy. Oh, you just put makeup on and you just this it's so much more than that. And behind the scenes, it's so dirty, it's gritty, it's grimy. But
Mhm.
I mean, I think all of that helps you appreciate the successes that come along with it. And the joy of being able to say, I collect a check for standing in front of a camera and talking, or just sitting in a box by
Hey,
myself and
humble
just
brag.
talking. I'm not. doing any heavy labor, and I could be, and the fact that I'm
Right.
not, because I chose not to give up. But I mean, I think that's the first thing. And the other thing that I tell everybody, the one thing about the entertainment industry, I don't care what it is you do, there is always somebody in any avenue of entertainment that is going to try to tell you who you are. And if
Hmm.
you don't know who you are when you come into this sphere, they will try to tell you who you are and you'll believe it, because you'll think that somehow they know more than you do. They have to be right. And if I'm going to be successful, I should listen to them. The problem with that is you're going to have a lot of ups and downs. You're going to be fired more than once. Get ready for it. It's not a knock on who you are, it's just this business. And if you are reincarnating yourself every time you get a new gig to fulfill whatever it is they think you should be, you'll never know who you are at the end of the game, and you'll be freaking nuts. And so the
Hmm.
one thing that has served me well, I am the same person as I was when I entered this business as I am today. And so therefore I know my value when I sit across the table from someone who tries to put a value on me, because I've never changed who I am, because I know exactly who it is and what it's worth. And all of those things will serve you better later on, in your career.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, this is going to be the last one because I know you don't have that much time. I appreciate your time. What else can we expect from you coming up? What do you have coming up soon, or anything you want to tell us about?
Well, I'm working on a book.
Okay, give it to us.
Yes, I'm excited about it. I'm one of those people that I get a little nervous about, I don't know, talking too much about yourself, because I think people will either consider you egotistical or they will wonder, well, what story do you have to tell? I mean,
Okay.
everybody got a story. But then the more I thought about it, it really isn't for everyone. Although, I mean, I'm not doing it to be heard. I'm doing it really for cathartic reasons, I guess, for myself. I think because everybody has something in them that they need to get out, whether it's a story, whether it's a song. I think you really won't feel like you've lived your maximum until you get it out. And so for me, it
Absolutely.
is getting the story out that has, dwelled in the caves of my soul that I feel like deserve to see the light of day. So that's number one. Number two, I'm working on a beauty endeavor for women of color that I think is going to take the world by storm. I'm super excited about it. I'm trying not to give too many
Okay.
details about it, but it's just around the corner. And I'm so excited, not because for any selfish reasons, but because I think it's long overdue. And I'm just so grateful that I'm going to have the opportunity to bring it to fruition. So I'm excited about
Okay.
that. And then I have some other film and TV projects that I'm working on. So a lot.
That is so awesome. We can't wait to see everything from you. So,
Thank
last
you.
thing, tell everybody where they can find you, your Insta or social media handles, and anything else you want to tell people where they can go and
I
find
always get in trouble for this, but I'm gonna try to keep it straight. I say it's I am Jasmine Sanders.
you. Okay.
Across the board, you can find me one way or the other.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Jasmine Sanders. We
Thank
really
you. I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
your time. I really do. Thank you so much.